Hello, welcome to Silent Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Starling House by Alix E. Harrow. This is a book from Tor that came out in 2023. It's a gothic mystery. I got this book on Audible, so I listened to it on audiobook, obviously. I will admit before I start, I was bitter about this book because I was rejected in getting an ARC on NetGalley. I know I shouldn't be. I did NetGalley approvals for a while and I understand the process, but I was like, fine, I won't read it then. But then I needed an audiobook to fill the void between Generation Ship and waiting for my pre-order of Demon's Rage. And I was like, well, this one's short. It does sound fun, viewer. I loved it. And yes, that is a reference to Jane Eyre, because this book is a very successful attempt at a modern gothic romance. It's got a Mr. Rochester, eldritch monsters, a lonely and spirited woman, an entrancing mystery, and the prose is a wonderful blend of lyrical and contemporary. This book harkens back to books like Rebecca and Wuthering Heights without feeling like a reimagining or a copy, and also includes a bit of Encanto. So before I get started, this is a sponsored post by another book that came out on Tuesday called If I Lose Her. It's a thriller, and it's really, really good because it's not just like a typical thriller. It deals with important themes, the theme being postpartum depression. So what is it about? Who can you trust when you can't trust yourself? The pregnancy podcast warned Joanna Baker about the baby blues, but when a near-fatal mistake places the first-time mom under the watchful eye of Child Protective Services, she receives a serious diagnosis: postpartum depression. Jo hears the words, yet they don't make sense. Nothing does. Her blackouts are increasing, and she can't recall events she's been accused of. As she fights to keep her daughter, she discovers cracks in her neighborhood, family, and her own home. With the support of her sisters, she attempts to piece together her traumatic past and uncover who is truly in control. Jo must battle her faltering mind to save what's most important, her daughter. There's also an audiobook of this one, and yeah, as I said, it came out March 5th. It's a short thriller. It's maybe 300 pages, but it's really impactful. It's really good. It's got some cool twists in it, and it's a debut, but it doesn't read like a debut. So yeah, if you like thrillers, you should check it out. The cover's really cool too. I had a copy, but I will admit I loaned it to my mother-in-law because she was going through surgery and needed something to read, and I was like, oh, here, just read this. Eden, Kentucky is just another dying bad luck town, known only for the legend of E. Starling, a reclusive 19th century author and illustrator who wrote The Underland and disappeared. Before she vanished, Starling House appeared. But everyone agrees that it's best to let the uncanny house and its last lonely heir, Arthur Starling, go to rot. Arpel knows better than to mess with haunted houses or brooding men, but an unexpected job offer might be a chance to get her brother out of Eden. Too quickly, though, Starling House starts to feel dangerously like something she's never had, a home. As sinister forces converge on Starling House, Opal and Arthur are going to have to make a dire choice to dig up the buried secrets of the past and confront their own fears, or let Eden be taken over by literal nightmares. If Opal wants a home, she'll have to fight for it. This story is exactly how I like my mysteries. Slow burn. The lead up to Opal even getting into the house takes its time, allowing you to learn about her, the town, and her situation before the weird stuff even starts. And the weird stuff doesn't even start there. Some mystery novels are like making soup in the microwave, some are done on a regular stovetop, and then you have others who are a pot over a fire. This one is the latter, and as such the elements are left to stew and mingle in a way that is enticing and entirely rewarding. Don't get me wrong, if I'm not feeling well, I will happily eat soup out of the microwave. The characters are wonderful. Opal is very much the plucky, down-on-her-luck young woman protagonist, but her stark and desperate situation makes her screw-off attitude likable as opposed to annoying. She has many reasons to be angry, yet she works her butt off to protect her little brother, making her sympathetic and her motivations to work at the house logical. Arthur, the Mr. Rochester, Heathcliff, whichever man you fancy, is the perfectly rendered Byronic male lead, minus the sexism, locking wives in the attic, cheating aspects of classic Gothic romances. The fact that the point of view switches to third person to focus on his internal thoughts here and there really helps flesh him out and broaden the story. I shipped them very, very hard, and they had real chemistry. I really loved their story. I was super into it. The side characters are delightful in that we have a balance of sinister outsiders, quirky friends, and the brother. The cast is actually quite small, but all the characters have a good weight with motivations that make sense. There's a very big miscommunication trope with Opal and her brother at one point that made me think, really? You haven't mentioned that even once. But then again, Jasper's only 16, and Opal thinks of him as a child still, so I guess it kind of makes sense. The setting is wonderful. We have a small rundown factory town, the mansion itself, and a motel that is the opposite of the titular mansion but carries as much weight in the story. Starling House is easy to picture, though it could have used a bit more descriptions of it, maybe a bit more time in it. And the fact that it behaves like the house from Encanto gave a slight amount of levity to the story. It kind of toned down the kind of, it kind of evened out kind of Arthur's brooding and Opal's kind of grouchiness. And then kind of the horror aspects. If you haven't seen Encanto, I do recommend it. It's a lot of fun. My kids were obsessed with it for quite a while, and I had no problem with that. Those songs are super catchy. As I mentioned, the writing style is lovely with interesting metaphors and similes balanced by detailed descriptions and fun dialogue. It's a great balance of modern contemporary writing with a bit of kind of lyrical, elegiac stuff kind of slid in there to kind of give it that gothic tone. I am not super into books about witches, but given this novel, I'm tempted to pick up Harrow's other books, actually. One thing about this novel I can say in critique is that it's very surface value. It's not deep. Where Rebecca dug into ideas of identity and gender roles, for example, this book isn't saying anything. There's no deep message here, really. There's a little bit about class, but it's not as impactful as, say, I don't know, Winter's Bone. But not every book needs to be making some sort of argument. This book is simply a fun, sometimes creepy, sometimes titillating ode to gothic mystery, and if that's what you want, this book will give it to you. The narrator is also really good if you're into audiobooks. I like her. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you've read this, if you enjoyed it as well. And if you have any recommendations of modern kind of gothic mystery, let me know. I've read all the classic ones. But let me know if there's any kind of new ones that I should check out, because I would very much appreciate that. Can't promise I'll get to them anytime soon, but I'll add them to my ever-growing TBR. So thanks for watching.